Welcome on back in, folks, to the Valorant Challengers #1 Open Qualifiers. My name is Upmine, joined here by Ito, and we finally have a map #3 here on the mainstream. And of course, this game had to go the distance. Immortals and Sentinels. Sentinels, they've been trying out a whole lot of new different things for their lineup, but still maintaining that same pace that we expect them to have. Immortals coming into this tournament with essentially a brand new lineup with quite a bit of that core, still fragging out the way that we used to expect them to do. So at this point, going over towards Ascent, a map that Immortals has played 4 times and is not lost on. I think it's time for Sentinels to really show up and really prove their dominance, or at least that's what we would expect. They've already taken an L on this map already in this tournament, so I'm still looking at this at both ways.
It can't go either way, and that's the magic of map #3, is that we've gotten the map picks out of the way. It just kind of comes down to, of the remaining maps available, what they're most comfortable with. And Sentinels, like you said, they kind of took an L on this a little bit earlier, but it was in the round of 32, I believe it was. Let me see. Yes,
Yeah.
round of 32 against Serenity, which was actually incredibly close game. People were freaking out, like, are Serenity actually going to beat them? But also kind of important to keep in mind that Zomps was running Brimstone, which is not like a necessarily throw pick or anything like that, but it's not usually what they run on Ascent as well. So, it was a little bit of experimenting for them. Now, I feel like they definitely have a lot more room to experiment, but we're probably going to be seeing that Omen again.
And I'm ready for it. At least in the last map, folks, we saw Sentinels come out to an absolute banger of a start, but it was Immortals that really made the second half possible.
This is true, yeah. I mean, absolutely lethal in that second half. Immortals made it a lot less scary than I think it originally looked after that first half, but you have to respect it. 13-9 for either team on their respective map picks. Really, honestly, at this point, the only question I have is what kind of compositions that we're seeing, because it's just, now's the time to do it. These are seeding games when it all comes down to it. So right. I'm hoping to see another Brimstone in play, even if it didn't do exactly phenomenally when they played against Serenity earlier. But explore. I mean, I don't know. It just feels like the prime time to do it,
Right. I mean, certainly so, especially after they've gotten the elimination games done and dusted. But usually we're going to be seeing that Omen in that position, so that's the one that they've been perfect on thus far, and that's actually the one that we've seen Sentinels really play more out throughout this tournament, because yeah, they've played Ascent more. They've actually played 2 more times other than that one game against Serenity, and they ended up winning out both in fairly easy fashion. And of course we have the Immortals on the other side that, again, they just haven't won Ascent every time, but they've won them by a very overwhelming margin every time. So still, we're seeing a team now in terms of Immortals that they might actually consider this a secondary map pick. I'm very much excited to see what Immortals really pulls out against Sentinels, because Sentinels, I don't think they're really going to curveball us really with the picks. I still think that they want to maintain things fairly back to basics, back to what they're used to in terms of their comp. And really, with Immortals starting off on the defense, it's actually the side that they have the least stats on, but listen to this, it's 71.9% of win rate that they have on Ascent on the defensive side, but for the attacking side, they have a 76.3 power over on the attacking side. So I don't know what to tell you. This Immortals team, on really both sides statistically, they absolutely dominate here on Ascent, and they're looking to do exactly that in this game against Sentinels to really send a message.
I mean, Immortals, new kids on the block with these new players added, but they have been nothing short of impressive. They did it yesterday, and they did it on Icebox. Yes, Haven was a little bit more muted for them, but we saw some great glimpses. It's like you said when we opened up this game, is, anything can happen.
Right.
And really, it's an open book. I'm just waiting to see who's going to write it. I think that's pretty much all the predictions that we can make preemptively. But once again, take a gander at the roster. And is there any, players in particular? I know we've given love to Chemicals and that we've given love to Sick, but anybody else who's been really impressive for you?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, Shazam, first of all.
Shut up.
Shazam has been absolutely nuts thus far, but when we really look at really the wider scope of things, of course you have to give it to Sick, who's had, if I'm not mistaken, I think over 40 kills thus far in this game. Yeah, no, just about 40 kills. Shazam on 35 thus far. Gangsta has been an absolute legend. 39 kills for him, and he again is on the Sova. He's been very oppressive in a sense in terms of that util usage in his ultimates. It seems almost every time that he does have that Hunter's Fury, he kind of aims it in a little bit of a random position and just kind of closes his eyes and just goes off, and it just works out. He's still very much a very pivotal part of this team, but that's alongside Shot Up. Shot Up has almost exactly the exact same score line as our boy of Sick. He also has 40 kills on this set thus far. So if anything, both of these teams, they have their incredible solo fraggers. Chemicals in the last map was really the person that ended up really coming out in terms of those highlight plays. But for Sentinels, at least, I'm going to be looking out to really Sinatra to really try to step up to the plate, because again, his little comp that he has in between Duelist and Sova, that could really come out to play on this map specifically, because him and Sick are such a great duo that's a really almost counteractable or really just interchangeable who wants to play it at what point. But even then, I'm still looking forward to what would be great individual frags on this map specifically, because that's almost literally what Ascent is known for. They're known for isolating interaction. They're known for the hard 1v1s and incredible entry duels. So I see Immortals really starting to heat up more and more in terms of the individual frags, but Sentinels, they still have that power too. Let's not forget it.
Be versatile.
Be versatile.
I mean, really,
gotta be interchangeable.
That's really all what it comes down to. They are incredibly versatile. It's something I've just been saying time and time again. Sick has played 6 agents now at an incredibly high level, and I mean, looking at the stats here while you're going on that tangent, well-deserved tangent at that. I mean, Sentinels have a lot of tape and have played this map a number of times just in this qualifier alone, most recently against Built by Gamers, which I didn't actually see, but it was a 13-10, and I would imagine it's pretty good because BBG, I think, have been on an upwards trajectory as well. It ended up being a 2-0 series in their favor. I mean, it's more so the fact that I think we just have a lot of video of how Sentinels play their Ascent, but Immortals are undoubtedly kind of a question mark here, but they have just been so phenomenal. I don't know if you can say anything other than they've been impressing me so far, and you can only hope for it to continue in that fashion.
I mean, surely. I think at least going into this one with actually the boys of Sentinels actually having a more successful attacking side in the past, you can kind of attribute that to really how much time they've been able to really gather up this lineup and actually being able to, I guess in a sense, develop their map pool to a very specific manner. You've been seeing a lot less of Bind, as that is starting to become a little bit more of a insta-ban for them. And if we're being completely honest, Sentinels, they haven't played too many tournaments. Yes, they played the First Strikes, and that was eventually the big one for all of these tier 1 teams. But it really hasn't been enough for us to really get too much of a showcase of what they're recently all about. So whatever changes that they have, whatever really, in terms of what we haven't seen from the demos, whatever interchangeability that they have in between their players, I feel as if that's really going to come out either today or tomorrow if they end up making it through. But that's almost the exact same thing with the boys of Immortals. With this being such a new lineup, it's almost like they're creating synergy, they're creating new chemistry as we go, new tactics in a sense. So as they demo review every night after the match days are over, they realize their mistakes. They're still changing things out. They're still testing new things, especially with players still getting very much comfortable. I'm very much ready to see the boys of Immortals still trying to switch up their composition here on Ascent, although they've kept it relatively normal in between not only what we have now in terms of their new iteration, but also before. We haven't seen too many changes, but that Agent Select is really going to tell it all. But in terms of just the overall scope of things for this game, I thought the last one would be heavily even in terms of scoreline. But this one, to me, has to be one where these two teams are very much on equal footing. If not, Immortals might have a little bit of an edge because of their past. Looking down at least the agent comp, and we do have a little bit of a breach going down, and Immortals still maintaining about the same.
I mean, this is not unexpected on either side, this comp setup. The breach is a staple for Sentinels. I think they run it almost every single time. It's a great map for him. So many great fault line angles. The pressure that you can provide with that aftershock, I think, in of itself makes it a viable pick over towards being those Radianite boxes. I mean, he really can shine. I think also post plants.
It's a very versatile character, and I mean, really the one question that we had going into this game was between the Brim and the Omen. So kind of good to see at least that kind of be scrapped away for now. That entire idea that, especially with the earlier game against Serenity, no more shocks, no more surprises. But yeah, this one could definitely be affected in a sense by how tight some of these sites can be and how much control that Breaches can take that early on.
Well, I mean, it all comes down to the deciding map here. When you look at it, zoom out a little bit, you can just think about maybe it's, again, not the biggest game in the world, but Immortals have already done it so far, have already impressed me. I want to see if they can continue on map number 3 for this seeding game. Who goes to the grand finals? Immortals come out swinging with 2 kills to start us out on Ascent. And how do Sentinels respond? With a quick A take. So Immortals now will be a little bit on the back foot after losing this frag in particular. But JC Stanley won't let anything slip by for free. That's a bomb carrier situated, and they'll have to pick it up, get that spike down, but it's going to be a lot more threatened now. The Immortals look to take number 1.
Yeah, no, good take. At least from Immortals over towards mid. Again, it's just a shot in the dark. It's just a Hail Mary. And again, they succeeded at least in getting their early frags. And just like that, it's Chemicals. He opened up the round with the frags in top, and not only that, but he continues his warpath on the A side. That's going to be Immortals with a slick pistol round win.
Beautiful way to start things out here. Sentinels, it was a nice call and response what they tried. It was really, I think, the interesting thing to keep your eye on there is, yeah, look at, you can see how they really try to contest top mid early, but it's a fight that they're really hoping went their way, and the fact that it didn't, I mean, this is kind of the natural result. They have to try to make some sort of reactive play work, and it was a stack towards A. It's beautifully counterplayed by Immortals. That is, once again, I think the fundamentals that are proving true to them. Very active, and it's the perfect way to start out. Perfect recipe for success, if you would.
Oh, and Immortals, they're cooking at this point, but Sentinels still messing around with a little bit of split, although, again, their economy is a little bit oh my god, although it is a little bit ineffective, ultimately, if they do get into these tight battles that Immortals are wanting to take. But in we go. Sinatra actually with a classic, able to combine with his teammates to take down JC Stanley, but Gangsta with a hit and run snags one back. So now with a 4-on-4, and Zom still on the lurk at least. There's still a little bit of a chance to create some space, but he ends up getting spotted out. So still Sentinels, no contact, no control just yet, but this A site might be their best option. There's barely any util, and this one contact in Cat could really open things out if they can win it over Chemicals.
Quiet for now. Chemicals, is he one to give up a frag like that? He's already put up his Blade Storm, and then some as well. Kind of overdoing it if you want a Blade Storm to play with your Chemicals. He's still going himself, dude.
30 seconds left.
He's still going. This man is at least bloodthirsty. He's looking to stat pad. I mean, he saw us talking about players with 40 bombs and whatnot. He wants to be a part of that club, to say the least. He starts off the game with an absolute banger, almost reaching double digits, and we're only 2 rounds in. Huge stat pad in a sense for Chemicals, but is it really that big in the long-term sense? No, not that much. Sentinels, they do have the rifles back, but Immortals, certainly a whole lot more confident.
It's those morality plays, the things that boost your ego that I think is going to be really important. Chemicals, again, this man started out as mainly a Cypher player when he was on SOR, but he really does feel so comfortable on Jet. Utilizing the kit right there, it was just some nice sharp shooting, and well, kind of like I mentioned previously, knives brought out for round number 3, so it is a bonus, as we've said previously, but they have a little bit more spice added in. Great counter flash from Sentinels will retake that A main control, so Sinatra stays clean. And right now, Immortals, their next move here is going to be not trying to give up an inch further if they can. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect maybe a counter smoke deeper into A main to try to retake a bit more control of it. But it's a deep smoke towards A main, if nothing else. Interesting position Immortals find themselves in right now, because I don't think they go for a flash and dash. But they need to eke out a pick here. It's so important.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the heavy cat control. I think if Sentinels snag one back, it will be massive. Same thing with Immortals.
Crossfire.
This is a round-defining battle. And JC Stanny at least is going to win the next one out. Chemicals on his own.
Amazing.
Gets another one. So there you go. Like I said, round-defining is now Immortals. They have more control. And Sentinels, they start to get desperate and hold their way forward. Still Dapper remaining in a 1v3. This man, again, has been an absolute legend for Sentinels in the past in terms of clutches, and he could do it again. You know, only has really one angle to watch after this one. Nature misses on the spray, but pulls out the frenzy. The sidearm gets it. Ito, that was the bonus, and now Immortals, they're rolling in cash and rolling in rounds.
Absolutely amazing, the conditioning there from Immortals. Threatening A main constantly, had a crossfire ready if Sentinels tried to make that into a burst or straight up execute, excuse me. But they had their bases covered because as soon as it was a little bit more abandoned, they kept Chemicals to watch over as, you know, the kind of guardian of A main, if you would. And then they moved a majority of their players to help out towards Catwalk. It was a great contact play from there, and it works out perfectly. Another round in their favor, and like you said, it's the bonus. They're going to have a very healthy buy, and Chemicals can start working on yet another Blade Storm, already having one down.
Take flight.
Enemy drone over.
Ooh.
Oh, wait, the tag. Does he Hunter's Fury this? I don't think he does.
Yeah,
oh my god,
he
he does. That's
I mean,
actually going to be
really
huge.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's really no other point to that owl drone, especially with it being so situational in a sense, other than to get it down for a Hunter's Fury. So there you go. Massive contact in terms of information, but Sentinels, they still have players around to try to help out off the take. And there you go. Shazam starts things off with a kill onto Chemicals, just beaming through the smoke. Still Immortals has one in the back lines. Nature has to hold things down essentially on his lonesome, but
2v1.
never mind. Immortals, they have stairs control, and now Dapper is down to a 1v2 once again. And this time, he has the full positional control and time on his hands. He's out of there.
But you have to remember, only Stinger in his grasp right now. Sure, he'll have the entire site to himself, but he still needs to try to continue to innovate after he gets this one planted. Nature is bleeding internally, low on HP, only 8 to his name. So that makes it a lot more comfortable for the Stinger. But as the spike gets planted, Dapper will probably now remain in his camera position. He has a nice amount of HP, where he can probably, if nothing else, try to, I don't know, optimize his position, but surely Immortals trade themselves out here. Well, they even spot the camera as well. This is going to be huge for Dapper. Got to be huge.
Oh, absolutely. That's very much a one and done angle, but still so much space to actually work with. I mean, it's almost impossible that anyone would check this, but Immortals, they're still saying very wary. Oh, there you go! Dapper gets the peek on in time. Nobody's watching out for him. He uses the element of surprise to give Sentinels around back. And again, I mentioned the Hail Mary factor to this team. They invest so much into it. And Dapper, 2 attempts at a clutch. He succeeds the second time. And this time, Sentinels, they have a way back into this game.
Such a cheeky angle that he was playing. Immortals, I think they played that safely. They grouped up and again were playing for the trade. They allowed Nature to make contact first because he was the low player. But it's just the sheer audacity for Daps to hold that angle is so... It's wild, quite honestly. Did I say Daps? I meant Dapper. We'll start with Dap. But... wow, that was really big from Sentinels, but that doesn't mean Immortals, again, are going to try to give up for this round. They still have another buy in them, plus the frag to their name. Only a couple of seconds into this mess, Immortals are right back into it.
And again, not much space being made by the boys of Sentinels either. But there you go. Right as I say that, they try to make their way out towards the A main area. And Shazam wins out his battle against Gangsta. And Dapper all alone takes down Chemicals. Huge now. The Sentinels, I mean, they essentially bide their time. They play patient to try to get a couple of frags. And indeed they do. And those are the openings. JC Stanley down to 7 HP. He was already down to 40, but... a couple of wall bangs restricts him even further. He's on the save already, and I wouldn't be surprised if Immortals purely tries to go for a couple of exits here. Is now shot up if he actually commits to this, he could potentially have eyes on the cross.
I think at this point, yes, they do enjoy maybe a save or two and enjoy a bit of a healthier economy for this next round. It's a 3v4, so it's not going to be the flashy way out, but it definitely is the safest. Immortals, they concede that one for now, but considering how many players they keep alive at the end of it, I think a rebuy is not only expected, but really it's just the right move to do here. Players can drop a Bulldog if they feel like it. Chemicals doesn't quite have another Blade Storm available. Maybe a fight for the ultimate orb would be worth their trouble. Or not. They have Vandals in play. Who cares about that? Gangsta, I think, will take a small hit, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
Immortals, it's that old dynamic in a sense with ecos and force buys where, again, you don't have too many options. Best thing that you can do is just trying to force up to the best of your ability, whether that means sacrificing util for firepower and vice versa. So at this point, Sentinels, they're actually starting to stay a little bit more quiet in this round, a little bit more isolated, more defaulty here, Itzel, because, I mean, Immortals at this point, they saw the economy. They know what their economy is at. They are the ones that really want to get desperate and really want to force out the situation. So if anything, Sentinels is playing this one out just right at the right pace, where Immortals, I mean, they haven't really been playing all that aggressive. So again, that may just be the conditioning in a sense, but Sentinels, they're certainly holding back just in case one of those players goes for a cheeky peek. And indeed, we do see one over towards mid, shot up. There was one person watching over towards top mid, but again, nothing of the sorts, as Immortals actually, they're just going for a gamble rotate back over towards A, or at least some of the players have abandoned control, and there's only one player on site for them to clear out. And Chemicals is actually here to try to help out. One up close, it's going to be Sinatra. Gangsta now with a Hunter Sphere going to try to help out. Nature still in the back of sight, like I mentioned before. What is Sinatra doing? Still going out forward, right into the rotating hands of Immortals, but that's big from Sick. One last person remaining. It is Gangsta, who ended up getting himself a frag with that Hunter's Fury, and he's the lone man with a stinger. He has a mission, though. Immortals. It would be a massive win for the team going forward, but Gangsta now knows that there's one at least up close. That shock dart not exactly going to connect all that deep, but he's still going to have to clear out that angle. Spike ticking down little by little. And no bullets. He's surely biding his time for a player that just has to get a 1v2 over with, but Sick has the angle anyways. Gonna be 3 kills for him, and there you go. Sentinels, they've tied up the game 3-3, and now Immortals, they have to think a little bit more economically sound. The last one, they still had more of a bonus, so they're still going to be able to buy up, but Sentinels, they're finally looking good in terms of their takes.
Patience is a virtue, and it was so noticeable in that round from Sentinels. Again, it's something you kind of mentioned during the mid-round lull of that one, is that I like that little bear that they show off. But they really are playing a bit more passive, very comfortable with maybe allowing some of the fights to be initiated by Immortals. Sentinels eventually obviously collapse it into a round of their own, but also very patient in that 2v1, not even trying to bother with an ego peek because they've been stung, hurt so many times. Exchange of utility over towards A main for good measure, and this is a pretty, I mean, it's different structurally, but it's the same intent once again from Sentinels. Defaulting out. No reason to try to change or really make things all too unique.
Right.
The fights will inevitably come to them. Immortals, they're getting a little bit antsy. But Shot Up has the discipline to not try to take this super aggressive peek, and apparently if he does, it's going to be cool and calculated, and he'll get out without any further hitches. That is a great start for Immortals. No way he goes for seconds.
No
he goes
way.
for seconds!
There you go. Shot Up opening up the round. And again, quite late fashion in a sense. Still 40 seconds left in the round. Most of the players left for Sentinel still over towards the A side, but they don't even have Spike. Chemicals go open this up all by himself once again. This Jet on Chemicals has been so clean thus far, and he's going for it again, throwing out a couple of knives, but Shut Up is there for the trade back, and Chemicals doesn't even go down for his troubles. Instead, now it's going to be Immortals off of Shut Up's beautiful individual and slow and patient play in mid to really open things up. Not only that, but now Ito, Sentinels. The fact that you talked about conditioning from Immortals. Now it's conditioning from Sentinels. How they've been really grinding out the clock to the very last second, almost every single round. This time, Immortals, they don't give up any of their sites. They don't stack up anything. Instead, they maintain the same default setup that they did at the very beginning of the round. That's well done in terms of patience from Immortals. And now, they still have a chance to extend their lead, something that, again, they unfortunately lost earlier on. Shut Up goes for it again, but Shazam with a good frag back still checks Cat, and no peeks out for it. Immortals now down a man.
They were expecting the trade there, and, well played by Sentinels. That smoke actually blocks off any, again, early trade attempt. So now the positions, the defaults, have to be slightly swapped up here. Neural Theft will be used to locate the positions, and they find out it's a 2-2 split. The move here from Sentinels, I would imagine, is try to take some sort of semblance of CT control. Counter smoke through, and Gangster realizes that potential is there. Hunter's Fury used as a result too. This is getting really, really messy at this point. Next kill should decide so much. It goes the way of Dapper. Sick, also for good measure, picks one up in favor of Sentinels. Immortals on the back foot once more.
But watch out, Nature still has to maintain sight, but he actually goes for an early pick onto Shazam, but again, he goes down himself. 1v3 for JC Stanny, and
Spike planted.
a tall, tall task indeed. That, again,
Flashbacks.
I don't really expect this man to actually go for. Yeah, it's exactly a flashback.
I think in that round, though, is very, very important. Just it feels really important for Immortals to pull that one off, because one thing that we talked about heading into this matchup was that calculated aggression. And if they can condition Sentinels to always be worried for that sort of thing, well, they'll have at least an edge to play off of. Sentinels quickly seem to realize what Immortals, what their game plan is looking like, so they trade out Shot Up before he's able to dismiss away once more, excuse me. So they stop him from being able to pull off that 2K for starters, but also on reaction after taking out Shot Up, they expected a trade, so they smoked off Cat immediately. Small little movements and adjustments like that are going to make a world of difference for Sentinels as they once again even things up. Immortals, I don't exactly know what the move for them is going to be here, considering it is a bit of a strange buy. One's going to have to take a hit and buy up the Stinger, but it will be rifles for the most part. Maybe Gangsta having to sacrifice some utility. It's a rough situation they're in right now.
Oh, real tough. Because now Immortals, with at least what Sentinels have been pulling off the last few rounds, they are actually targeting a little bit more towards a central area. There's 3 over towards that B side at the moment, with a whole lot of awareness over towards that mid side. But like you mentioned before, that A site still gonna get banged out early, and not only that, but it has to be a full retake, isn't it? With the smoke up, and Sick actually getting exposed. Whoa, wait a minute. And not only that, but the lockdown early on. It gets pulled out, and Sentinels, they're not even abandoning. They're still fighting this with Sinatra. He's gonna get stuck in this, and they know that he's here. He was the one that just pulled out the darts. There's a couple of players over towards main 2, and there you go. Wow. I don't know how that even happened, but Immortals, they faced on that first contact for Sentinels head on. Although the smoke ended up going up, they still just kept spraying on bullets, and if anything, Sentinels, it was just unlucky in terms of the kills that they ended up taking on, or the deaths that they ended up taking on. But then after that, it was Immortals that they already had a plan. They wanted to stay safe from that A site. They wanted to retake for a reason. They had the lockdown. It's as easy as that. Nature places it down. Sentinels wants to fight it purely because they're at the man advantage, and Immortals takes it out at the end of things. Yet another round advantage for Immortals. Pause. We've seen the 2 teams trading out rounds for the past 4 rounds, but at this point, I think we have either a tactical or a technical pause, because really, both of these teams need it. It's very high intensity in a sense, or some things might not just be working out in their favor. And indeed, it's a tactical pause. Listen to this for Immortals.
They just got off of a crazy round that was flawless, so their eco is a little bit.
Well, think about it too, right? I'm sorry. I know that the mental side might be a thing, but look at their ultis. They don't have really anything solid to do any of those crazy retakes with.
It's at that point that you start thinking about, do they fight for ult orbs? I mean, I know the lockdown was big in that round because it isolated Sinatra in the bottom of sight, but I think Immortals, I mean, they got that into a 5v3 before they even popped it. I think it's very reactive what they went for there, because what I saw was Sentinels, when they tossed out that smoke and Sick went to go close the door, they were hopped in the smoke already. It's calculated aggression once more that I think made a really big difference. And that's not something that you need to rely on ultimates for. Sure, again, that lockdown was massive, no doubt about it. But I think Immortals at least have the right idea of what threads to pull on in order to maintain some of the success.
Oh, Chemicals. Earlier we saw Shut Up
jeez.
really trying to fight out that position, but this time Chemicals wanted that first contact. Not exactly successful. He goes down in terms of HP. Sentinels at least with an inkling of that information, but Gangsta, he has the ace in the hole. He has the Odin combo through the wall, gonna be able to get a little bit of damage in too. Shut Up waiting for a player to swing out, and instead he forces out the interaction for first bullet right off of the swing, and he's able to get the kill from it. Sick with a fake rolling thunder, and Nature with a flick back, able to hold back on towards the cat side. Still two more players here, and JC Stanny comes in essentially out of nowhere off the rotate, and Sick, I mean, he could have definitely used that rolling thunder for the A take. He used it for a fake instead, and Chemicals off the jump peak takes down Sick in mid. This turned from an incredibly even round to Immortals systematically taking down Sentinels. It's 6-4 now. We're Immortals, they're rolling in the cash, and Sentinels, they're reeling.
JC Stanny. Okay, no, Immortals as a whole, incredible, phenomenal positioning right there. And let's now go ahead and zoom in on JC Stanny, how he rotated towards Cat at the perfect time. He was mainly there as insurance, I feel like, but he peeked out a little bit too wide. Not that that's a problem, because he sprayed down 2 as a result. Sentinels left flailing about. I'm loving this from Immortals right now. This look, again, that calculated aggression looks so nice on them. And Sentinels have to change up their approach. Before they were pushing out through a main as one unit. Now they're trying a bunch of different angles. But with pistols, what can you expect other than a massacre? Another flawless. If Immortals were struggling a little bit before economically, right now they are rolling in it. They have Gucci, they have Louis Vuitton, everything right now. They have everything going their way, except maybe the ultimates, but even then, they're close to a number of them.
They know I got that Gucci, that Louis, the bar logo.
Hey, yeah.
Oh my.
It's great news, man.
Immortals, they are fully set up for themselves. Now going into this last round of the half. And now, folks, Sentinels, one last stand in a sense for the half, especially because now they finally have the buy back. And Sentinels, they're not going for their more scattered approaches they have been before. This time it's almost all in towards the B side, and there's realistically only 2 people here that can help out. This is a massive opportunity for Sentinels. Ooh, look at that information from Gangsta.
No dart needed, and it's still huge. Shot up. He has to not be caught out of position here, but he is. It all is going to come down to Gangsta to hold the line. No, there's already a push through from JC Stanny. Again, the calculated aggression. The gunfights need to go their way here outline. And they are!
Unreal. Again, Sentinels, again, they wanted early pressure over towards that back spawn entrance of B, but it didn't work out in their favor. So instead now, it's Sinatra, the legend here for Sentinels, to try to hold back the line. He's in a 1v2, he has an Odin, and he's gonna go down! No way, Nature! Big sought out, and he takes him down for an 8-4 scoreline going into the next half. I mean, Immortals, yes, they've had a very successful Ascent side thus far in this tournament, but who expected this? Sentinels down 4 rounds going into the next half, but that's really the gold of the pistol round, or just the fresh half in general. That 4-round streak can evaporate in a second, but you gotta appreciate this from Immortals.
And if you thought their defensive end, was good, it doesn't get much better for Sentinels into the second half. I'm looking at the stats right now at Mind. They had a 9-3 posted against Cloud9 Blue, a 10-2 against Big Frames. I can throw these numbers at you all day if I wanted to, but the thing that you really should be taking from it is this suits perfectly Immortals' style. And it's preemptive and it's too early to tell, but I think this is a wonderful situation that they found themselves in. Moving into this next pistol, frenzies for so many players here, Ghost in for a good mix, and Immortals sneaking up through mid uncontested.
Oh, here we go. Again, just a reminder, Sentinels, they have a 68% round win rate here on the defensive side of Ascent thus far in this tournament, and they don't want to let go of this lockjaw hold of this B site. What a rotation, what a hold. Everyone from Immortals, they funnel on in, and that's going to be Sentinels taking back the pistol round in a flash.
Respect where respect is due there. Again, they just took it in an instant. They were hyping up Immortals for good reason after posting an 8-4, and it was tied 3-3 at one point, but yeah, to harken back about what you just said, funneled into the site almost forcefully, and considering that Immortals had a lot of map control going their way because of that split they pulled off, it's crazy that it seemingly ended so quickly. So Sentinels should be able to convert this second one by all means, but never count Immortals out. The pistols in tow could prove to be lethal. Once again, they'll cut noise. Spike is down, located outside of B, grabbing the orb uncontested, but also keep in mind of the fact that there's 2 players situated by A. So whatever you see here, there's probably going to be a bit of downtime before an actual execute begins.
It is still Immortals trying to decide where they even want to go, where they want to target. They do have at least one challenge over towards mid if they want to get that crossover. At least from Gangsta, but they're actually going to make a little bit of noise over towards A main and picking up that orb, and a smoke over towards mid too. With 45 seconds left, they're leaving Sentinels guessing, but it almost seems like the one logical way that they want to go is over towards B main. There's 2 over towards this area. One holding out in terms of the first peek out, and not only that, but there's one in the back of sights, essentially playing anti-flash and anti-take most likely. But in we go.
What is
Sinatra,
this?
there you go. What a jump. Against the pistols, they got no chance. Shazam gets the last 2, and Sentinels, they maintain the SMG round for themselves flawless. So going into their bonus, Immortals, they at least want to get around back here in the half, because Sentinels, they actually starting to get a little bit more aggressive even.
I mean, you can look at this. How can he not say it's aggression? This man looks at a crowd, fully blinded crowd, of course, but he just feels totally comfortable going in. It's trust. And 6 flash right there, that was massive. And I was going to say, Sig had to be massive here, but I thought he would have to frag out. I didn't think he'd necessarily just have to set out a flash and allow the rest of the work to be done by another teammate. But it's a good look for Sentinels. 8-6 right now, nearly evened up. This first gun round is going to be massive, and it is a massive frag for Chemicals. We begin on a good note. But that isn't exactly an indicator of it, whether the round's over or not.
No, not
Immortals,
exactly.
They want to immediately execute here, don't they?
No, not exactly, but that's purely because Sentinels, they still have a lot of pressure over towards that A site. So instead now, with Immortals still crowding around, they would need to clear out that cat site to really make things worth it in terms of that early frag, and indeed they did. Sentinels, all 2 players towards that A site, they both go down with ease.
Right here.
So Sentinels knocked down a peg. 2 players remaining now in a 2v5. Chemicals looking for something a little bit cheeky too, right as the smoke goes up, and there you go. Indeed, it's as cheeky as you can get. 3 kills for Chemicals in the round, and I just want to get a stat line check, because I think he already hit the 20 bomb earlier, but no, he just hit the 20 bomb. So everyone else is struggling behind him. The closest player behind him is Sinatra at 11. Chemicals is almost literally in a league of his own this game.
I mean, it passes the eye test and obviously passes the stat test. Sentinels, will be saving what they have, but it's not much. It's that operator in Shazam's hands. That's the only gun that they'll be having into this next round, assuming he doesn't get chased down, just immediately demolished in a second. No, he will hold on to it. A buy around this seems likely, and it seems, yeah, okay, they're going to stick with the idea here. Stinger for Sick. I think right now what I'm hoping to see from Sentinels is if there's pressure from Immortals, maybe don't exactly, commit Sinatra to have to wide peek into 3 people when there's a flash, because maybe it won't go as well as it did previously against Pistols, but that was a great flash that they can play off of. Sick, you can trust him to blind a couple of players, and I think that's what they should be trying to rely on. Set up flash plays. Oh, that's a huge tag, actually.
No, massive tag. He does go back, though, and even more important tags for Sentinels, actually. They get a whole lot of information over towards the mid side. Back and arches, but yeah, I mean, still in this round, it's very much expected that Sentinels would buy out. Last round was just their bonus anyways, so going into this one, they need the early frags. They need the entries more than anything, because that's what's really leading Immortals, at least over towards the first half. That's really what gave them more than the advantage. You didn't see Immortals in too many clutch situations, and Sentinels, I mean, of course, it's fresh for their defensive half, but they at least need to win out what Immortals is trying to isolate into the 1v1 duels. But in we go, at least, with Immortals still laying around that A site. And look at the amount of util. Look at the manpower on this site, too. It's a preemptive rotate purely because of the information being picked up outside of B main. This is a massive read from Sentinels, but Immortals making their way through. They're making it entertaining. Shot Up gonna get one back. Huge. Oh, Shazam, he absolutely needed one back, but Shot Up all by himself. He's the instigator. He's the fragger. He gets himself 3. And now, Sentinels left on the back foot with only 2 players once again. Hello, Sick, though, gets a little bit more damage. Sinatra, this is now possible. 150 now in terms of HP. He can still approach, getting blasted through the smoke, still gets the kill back onto JC Stanny. Relatively low HP on the other one, but this is still very much an even 1v1. Sinatra, we saw him with an opportunity for a 2v1 earlier. He could succeed now. Finds the player. He's actually going to pull out the op. Hello, Bogdan's Law. Does he pull it off? Jumping in. What on earth was that kill? Does he have time? Oh, indeed he does. That's amazing from Sinatra. Unreal. What was that shot at the end? Sentinels, they have a fresh breath of life in this game.
I don't have words. You have to let that one stew for a second, because Sentinels just somehow pulled off a 3v5, I think it was. Shot Up was the hero of the first half of that round, and apparently the late protagonist, Mr. Fourth Quarter in his own right, Sinatra. No, I'm sorry, that's too right. I can never take that title away from Shanks, but God, what a late round. What a late performance to just completely pop off in that round. Unbelievable. So many ultimates nearly online. One thing I want to mention real quick. Sure. I think an ultimate orb would be massive to have here.
For which team, though? For which player, though, more importantly?
I was going to say maybe on Shot Up, just because he's been so insane every time we've seen him, and maybe just that Empress would help him out, but the Hunter's Fury, surely.
I'm going to counteract you here. Nature. He's one away from actually picking up the lockdown, so who knows at this point what could be pulled off. But again, unbelievably speaking, you still have that op back for Shazam, still ringing out true. But oh man, look at the amount of damage being done. Sinatra already down to 1 from that nano swarm. God, that again, very deep nano swarm, and it ends up hitting at the right time. And now Sentinels,
now they have the lockdown
down to a 2-on-3, and indeed they do. The lockdown's about to go down as Nature is going to restrict these Sentinels players to commit. Actually, they're still going for this. 1 in short.
The aftershock is huge.
The aftershock's not going to hit, though. That was so close. So close to actually hitting that lockdown, though. What a great idea, but it doesn't connect. Now it's a 2-on-2, though, with Sick taking out Chemicals. Watch out for JC standing on the front lines right behind the smoke. The 2 players might actually be backing out, though, with time ticking away, and they're looking for the exits off this crossfire. That's a very good idea.
1 enemy remaining.
can find all the kills they want, but this round is Immortals. I just cannot believe it. That round was beautiful from Immortals. Not going to say immaculate because they eventually do drop all their players, but who cares when you have the massive number up top still working? Actually, Immortals might care. Their money is not quite in the best place in the world. Gangsta and Nature, I think, are going to have to take some hits economically, whether they want to do half armor rifles or Stinger, probably in the case of Gangsta. So, yeah, it does matter that they drop those players there, but they really worked the B site for so long there, and you have to have so much respect for it. You're talking about how the ultimate orb could have been really good on Nature, but he got it naturally anyway after getting the spike planted. So many great moving parts there for Immortals, as now they have even more to play with. Hunter's Fury is going to be the first of the tools of the trade.
Oh, but Chemicals out for blood again, this time looking for a double kill, but that's a massive rolling thunder that doesn't connect onto Shut Up, and he's safe. Gangsta is here to help out too. How on earth did they survive that entire onslaught? It's Shut Up essentially on his own with cover fire from his comrades. Immortals now at 11 and Sentinels down to pistols again.
How do they do that, man? The Rolling Thunder maybe was a couple of inches off, but look at this dismiss. Right on cue, he dodges it. Something straight out of the Matrix, although instead of bullets, it's apparently tremors. And then he'll finish things off with a gorgeous 3K of his own. We were hyping up Chemicals before, and definitely well-deserved, sitting at 21 kills, but as of late, it has been shot up, shutting me up, and shutting Sentinels up as well. A very expensive round when it comes to utility because they have to use a Rolling Thunder as well as the Bladestorm from Chemicals. But they still have, in case they feel like it, the Empress as well as From the Shadows. That could be good if they want to try selling a fake. If perhaps it gets a little bit scary in the late round situation, they could do a full rotate. Options are still very much there for Immortals. But they might not even have to bring out any of those, those trump cards simply because, I mean, the util, the artillery is so night and day. And hey, even with the knives, their best chance yet, they get taken down by Chemicals.
What? What on earth is this? No, you would never even expect one person to be here. They actually have two for the double coverage. This could be massive for a couple of fractions. How? Wait, what? Why would you ever check that angle? I would be molding right now if I were sick. Who would ever check that angle? That is insane. 4v2 now. Sinatra takes down one in terms of shot up, and I don't know what to think anymore. Chemicals now gonna be able to get yet another one for his kill tally. And ladies and gentlemen, Immortals now one round away from taking down the Sentinels.
Dude, he did a double take checking that corner. He was like, all right, no, that's clear. Well, it's not clear. It's not clear. And yet he still got the kill too. Immortals. Now, I'm not saying it's not the upset that you mentioned earlier, but this still would be a massive one. This is a seeding game for sure, but Immortals have looked incredible this entire series long. Haven, maybe not so much, but they still had some wonderful rounds here or there. Those flawless ones that we talked about when, it was in the midst of the action. But Sentinels, they're ranked #1 in NA at the moment, and they're one of the big four in North America at the moment. This is a huge achievement for Immortals with the two new players that they've added, Chemicals and Nature. Both have been incredible, but it's not over yet. One more round for Immortals to officially cross the finish line.
Here we go.
Possibly quietly.
Sentinels this round. You mentioned the word quiet. It's as quiet as you can get. There was double cat for a moment there, and they're actually going to maintain a fast rotation to that cat area. One is just watching the mid rotation, but wow, Chemicals takes down Sinatra. That's one down for Sentinels. There's one here on site. Oh, Zombs can't get it back and turn to the teleport. That's all the information in the world. Chemicals with another one takes down Zombs. Sentinels, with only 3 players remaining, need to somehow make their way back on site. Now, no chance. Chemicals, JC Stanny, both get their kills. Shazam now has to be the hero with the 1v5. He's gotta go for it. Sentinels, they're hounding for this one. Immortals Look at the players starting to rack up. They even have util to spend. Even an Empress of Darkness. And through the shadows, Shazam emerges, still trying to get a couple of frags, still trying to get anything. He's overwhelmed. Immortals, they've done it. They beat Sentinels 2-1, and they're on to the Challengers Open Qualifier #1 Grand Finals.
Well-deserved series. We had so many question marks heading into this game about what can Immortals bring against some of the best in NA, but they proved it yesterday that yesterday was not a fluke. This entire tournament so far, this is something that you can expect. The new blood in North America, Nature and Chemicals, absolutely phenomenal. Chemicals, he stole my heart, man. Obviously, Shot Up had some incredible rounds as well. One of the most flashy and amazing players to watch. Everybody on Immortals definitely deserves this win. They take down Sentinels in this seeding game, and they move on. At the very least, they've secured seed #2 for that close qualifiers. But at this point, get all the practice that you can get, because Immortals, no longer will we be questioning these players, questioning what this team can bring with the new additions. Right now, all we can do is just marvel at their results. This is well-deserved, and Immortals, whoever is doing the scouting for them, give them a raise.
It gotta give them props. Again, Immortals, the prize for them isn't exactly the seeding. Of course, it is on paper, but it's the experience. This team, with their first tournament together, they make it all the way to a grand finals of a Riot-sponsored event, and now they go up to the grand finals against another one of the juggernauts of North America in Envious. And again, that game is going to be an absolute banger. You guys do not want to miss it. That's going to be happening tomorrow afternoon Eastern Standard Time. But, well, there have been quite a bit of action today, Ito, but I think we somehow need to decipher which play is the best of the day. But I think I have a clue. It's none other than Shazam and his ace earlier on Icebox as our sweet play of the day, brought to you by Mike and Ike.
It's a bittersweet feeling having this be the play because, you know, you lost the series, but so many highlights for Sentinels to take away from this one. And they'll still be in the closed qualifiers. Just so much respect to Shazam, the shots he hit, as well as the knives to close it out with barely any time remaining. It's flashy, and it is one hell of a sweet play. Congratulations, to Shazam for being able to take that title, and commiserations to Sentinels for not being able to take it. But if we're handing out congratulations anyway, huge congrats to everybody on Immortals for absolutely popping off today. They have just consistently been impressive. I love to watch them.
Yeah, I mean, they're at least this new team, they've been reinvigorated, and again, it's almost becoming a meme at this point. I mean, who else is going to be next for this Immortals roster? We've seen like 200 player changes for this team already, but if I have any sort of power to it, Immortals, anyone in that organization, anyone that has power, keep this team together, please. We want to see more of them. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching the semifinals day of Valorant Challengers #1. But before we go, of course, we have to give a huge shout out to our main sponsor for this Challenger series. Of course, it's our boys over at HyperX. Of course, it's legendary comforts in the hands of none other than the wireless headsets themselves, including the HyperX Cloud 2 wireless. It's built to be an ultra comfortable gaming headset with amazing sound. It's no wonder that it's become the preferred gaming headset for millions of gamers. Folks, you know it, you'll love it. Thank you so much to HyperX. And for all of you watching today, please be prepared for grand finals tomorrow of the first phase of the entire Valorant Championship Tour. You guys do not want to miss it. My name is Upmind. You can follow me on Twitter at Upmind_. You can follow my boy here, Ito, at ItoKP. Thank you so much to Nerd Street Gamers for bringing all of the action. You can follow them on Twitter at NerdSTGamers. And for now, we are out of here. We'll see you tomorrow for grand finals.